Hey everyone, it's Finch here. I'm going to be doing something a bit special this week. I'm going to bring you guys my SPL Week 1 game against my friend Raiza. So, recently on this channel, I brought you guys another series of games against Raiza, where we played for the Black and White Overused Global Championship Finals. And I was able to win in 2 games, but I got luckier in game 1 to the point where it took away a clear advantage from his side and gave me the game. And then game 2, I won in a more clean fashion with a matchup advantage. But Raiza is definitely a respectable black white player. In fact, he beat me in pretty much every tournament of the black and white no sleep room tournaments in the ROA room, which I have alluded to in this channel before. He also made it all the way to the finals of that aforementioned Black and White Global Championships, defeating some pretty respectable players. On top of that, he was on my Snake team and did well in PU. I think he ended up going even, but he was pretty unlucky and he started off very strong. And he went for 14K in SPL, so I'd say above all else that is a testament to his competency and his work ethic. He's pretty solid in both SSOU and Black White OU, but he was picked predominantly for Black White due to the field having a lot of stronger players, so they wanted him to stack up against him as opposed to someone maybe on the weaker end. All things considered, while Raiza is definitely a competent player, a good player, an experienced player, he still lacks the same level of official experience that people like Soulwind, myself, and Dice happen to have, which is why we're probably regarded closer to the top end of the black white field, whereas he's more the mid to low end. But he definitely has the fundamentals and the understanding of the metagame and how to play the tier down pat. Without further ado, let's get into the teams. So first and foremost, you might notice that we have a bit similar team structure-wise. So first off, we both have Ferrothorn. We both have two psychic types, being Latios and Alakazam, as in we both have the same two, yeah. We both have a ground flying type. I have Gliscor, a bit more conservatively, and he has Landers, a bit more offensively. We both have a water type. He has Rotom W, and I have Keldeo, and then we both have Tyranitar. I have Scarf, he has Chople. It's worth noting that it's pretty much the same format, but he has Rotom, whereas I have Keldeo, and that favors him slightly because Rotom is a bit better than Keldeo against Gliscor in the short haul, especially if I'm not max special defense, which my set is. So that advantage pretty much negates itself. The only really other advantage it has is just more longevity, the ability to beat Keldeo 1v1, and the ability to burn things such as Ferrothorn. So that could come in handy, but I mean, really, that's just a minimal advantage given my Gliscor set. And then he also has Landorus, which at Team Preview looks to be Scarf. In fact, I've used the same team with Scarf Landorus before. However, his is actually fighting him with U-turn, so that's a big threat that could come into play here, or it could potentially be thwarted out if I am to play around it properly, if the situation arises. But again, I'm thinking it's Scarf with Team Preview, so I'll also wait and see how that plays out. So again, I'd say that the matchup is like 55-45 in his favor, if anything. But really speaking, it's almost definitely going to be even because we're both going to be trying to get hazards up, specifically spikes from Ferrothorn up, and then trying to do a lot of damage with the Alakazam. And while his Rotom W is an conventional like Soda check, as in it could break the sash, it's really important that he also has Chople Ferrothorn and I don't. It's like he has a little better Alakazam countermeasures than I do, but it's worth noting that my Gliscor is max special defense, so it lives HPS and fall always and almost always after Stealth Rock. So there are ways there are ways around that for sure. Moving forward, looking at my team again, I do have Scarftar, so it's worth noting that, again, I am able to trap Latios with this. However, I'm not able to beat Alakazam as it could outrun me, and if it hits Focus Blast, kill me from full. So that's worth noting. So again, kind of a trade-off. Whereas his Tar happens to have Stealth Rock and Chople Berry, so it's more of a conventional Tyranitar. So yeah, basically my thought process behind his team was that if I face Alakazam, then my own Alakazam has Thunder Wave, my Ferrothorn lives any hit, my Latios lives any hit, my Gliscor lives any hit, and they can all break Sash, and those kind of together, plus the chance of Focus Blast missing versus Ferrothorn, or even Tyranitar, gives me enough leverage to where I can maximize my odds against it. And admittedly, it's a slight weakness of this team, but Raiza doesn't use a lot of Alakazam historically. I have used Jirachi against him very recently. And on top of that, I'm known for being a Chople Tyranitar spammer. So seeing as A, I had my own Alakazam with Thunder Wave, and B, I had three things that could pseudo-check it in a pinch, I felt comfortable enough going into this matchup against opposing Alakazam to bring this team. Finally, it's also worth noting that the team is built around a core of Keldeo and Tyranitar. So with Sleep being banned, I noticed that Amoonguss was going to drop in usage. while it might still have some fringe viability, I don't feel that it is worth exploring too much. I've tried it out, and Worry Seed and Sludge Bomb as filler moves are nice. Sunspore can still inflict status, but ultimately, without sleep, you're not able to force the same amount of free turns. You don't have the same merit that you're better off using different cores and or using different Keldeo checks in the long haul, I would say. So we might see even more Latios than before, which is kind of outrageous. But also we might see things like Slowking pop up a bit more. The Pursuit vulnerability, however, is noteworthy, so I actually want to take advantage of that because A, we're seeing less Amoonguss, the main Keldeo check in the tier, and B, Pursuit suddenly has a lot, not a lot, but a little more effectiveness, which is already a fantastic thing. So I wanted to make the most use of that, and I wanted to use Scarf Tyranitar. Not only is Pursuit really helpful against things like Latios, because you get bluff to outspeed it with Crunch, if that works out too, depending on situation, but also that this is so well against these rain teams with the Tornadus and the Thunderous that I just really quite like that as a pick here. And then with those things eliminated, specifically Tornadus, and Protect Toxic Keldeo with just a simple burn on Tentacruel is so great, especially because Sand Tentacruel can't actually beat this Gliscor at all. It does like 35 with Scald. Moreover, just with the general lack of Amoonguss and the reliance on Latios, Protect Keldeo plus Scarf Tyranitar is such a devastating core to teams like Raiza's right now, especially teams like those without Alakazam, because that's sort of a second check that can outrun and kill it. So unfortunately, he has it suppressed a little bit, but ultimately speaking, I quite like strategies such as this one. Keldeo is a great pick right now, especially with spikes. Moving forward, a lot of people suggested that I use Scarf Keldeo on this team, but I think Scarf Keldeo on Sand teams is really poor right now because it takes Stealth Rock, Spike, Sand damage, no way of recovering, and without Rain boosting its Hydro Pump, it's quite weak. I feel as if this was a convention that was best seen in the 2014 to 2015 metagame. So it was something I definitely wanted to stray away from, especially given the aforementioned concept of Protect Keldeo plus Scarf Pursuit that I really wanted to kind of weave into this team. In fact, that was the whole focal point in preparing for Raiza as is. However, it ended up leading into more of a neutral slash very, very slightly favorable for him matchup. Again, like 51-49 or 55-45, just because the two Pokemon differences and the set differences. But yeah, I feel as if the concept was good and the team was pretty good. It did fantastic in testing. I quite like the Gliscor set against standard teams right now. However, him having Alakazam is an immediate threat to me, so that's something I have to look out for. However, I could easily put myself in a position with my Latios and Spikes damage and Rocks damage where I could be a threat to him. It's also worth noting that my Ferrothorn has both Stealth Rock and Spikes, and that actually is quite advantageous to me in this matchup, as I should be able to lead with it instead of on pretty much anything barring a Fighting Gem Landorus T, which he happens to be who doesn't lead with it, thankfully. Moreover, if he were to have Ferrothorn, or even just a spinner and able to burn this Ferrothorn, if he was to have Magnezone for my Ferrothorn, or even a spinner with the Rotom W, then it could have been a nuisance, as keeping up both forms of hazards would have been hard, and I have nothing else to set up rocks. So that's a pretty big benefit, because it is a bit of a fish using dual hazard Ferrothorn in the current metagame, but it happened to work out here. So, moreover, given that, I was able to lead Ferrothorn knowing, okay, I'm going to be able to get the hazard advantage, or at least neutrality, throughout the entire game from the get-go. And while Spikes only impacts the Ferrothorn and the Tyranitar, it really only needs that one layer of Spikes just to get that chip going for both of my Psychic types. And Stealth Rock is able to impact 5 members of the team, and it's neutral against 4 of them, and it still does damage enough to negate leftovers from Ferrothorn. In addition, I could also knock potentially Ferrothorn or the Rotom Wash, which will set up nicely for my Gliscor and my Alakazam in the long haul. So yeah, going into that, I'm going to start the game off here. We're going to see that I'm going to lead Ferrothorn on his Ferrothorn. And before I proceed, I just want to apologize to Sonic the team preview, but black and white games with these kind of similar team structures actually have a lot of thought put into them, and they're going to come down to wire no matter what, just because of the nature of them. But you want to try and optimize your odds. That's the key. Such little things can go such a long way, and you'll see that perhaps through little outplaying or little sequences that favor one side or the other, one of us might pull ahead a little bit or fall behind a little bit, depending on what it may be. Moreover, me leading Ferrothorn against his Ferrothorn turns out to be favorable for me because I have Stealth Rock and Spikes, whereas he just has Spikes. In addition, I have Knock, and he seems to be a Leech plus Protect variant, as we'll see later on. So right off the bat, I'm going to knock off, knowing that he's almost definitely going to stay in, and getting this knock is priority number 1, especially if he's Rocks and not Spikes, or Spikes and just want to set 1 up. So I want to make sure I knock him beforehand, and then I set up my Rocks. Spikes are not urgent because he only has 2 Spikes up, so I can get that off later on. And now here's a big turn. So I'm going to see that he has all 3 layers up, and again, I don't mind that because only my Tyranitar, Keldeo, and Ferrothorn take that damage, and my Ferrothorn has leftovers inside. And Tyranitar is essentially only useful for trapping his Latios at this point, maybe getting an Ice Beam off on a non-Scuff Landorus T, or predicting a switch and getting some superpower damage off on a Rotom, or potentially a Ferrothorn, which is already crippled quite nicely. So, moreover, knowing that I'm going to be letting up these spikes regardless, I figure, okay, I might as well get up my rock, which is about as effective as like 2 spikes from him, just because of the team structure that he's using. Just he doesn't have many spike vulnerables of his own, and then a spike of my own, but only one, because I don't really see the need for a second spike here. And I feel like he's definitely going to switch because he's revealed at that point that he didn't have knock. He would have used knock already. So therefore, he has no reason to stay in. He wants to get momentum. So he's going to go to either the Rotom W to try and land a burn, or potentially the Landorus or the Tyranitar, depending on which set has the ability to threaten my Ferrothorn more. He turns out to go to Landorus, and initially I think I'm going to knock off a Scarf, as I predict to switch with the knockoff again. But it turns out that I knock off a Fighting Gem, which is actually even better to knock off. Now this is a big turn. It turns out that he was actually not a Swords Dance variant, but instead he was a U-turn variant of the Fighting Gem Landorus. So you have the normal Earthquake superpower with the Fighting Gem boost, which is quite potent in the current metagame. And then also the Hidden Power Ice, which is really cool. Of course, that set originally used by McMegan, and it's been a really good Pokemon ever since that, the last 3 or so years. However, you'll notice that he has U-turn over Swords Dance. Swords Dance tends to be the last one. He has U-turn as a team. However, him predicting me either to stay in or to try and maybe predict a Swords Dance and go to something like Alakazam or maybe Keldeo, I'm kind of as like a mid-round. He goes for Superpower. And personally, if he had a U-turn, I would have just went for that or Hidden Power Ice, because that also is Gliscor, which was a likely pivot. But I don't think there's really a concrete like correct or wrong play here. Like, it wasn't a misplay at all, because there are a number of things I could go into now that I've noticed a knocked off Fighting Gem, and the fact that it could be U-turn or Swords Dance. So I'm going to Latios, saying, okay, he's probably going to Hidden Power Ice or Superpower. Hidden Power Ice predicting Gliscor, Superpower predicting me to stay in or go to one of those other mid-ground options. So I don't mind Superpower damage at all, because that will give me a free turn to pretty much Draco to shit out of Ferrothorn, or potentially something else if he fodders that to go to Tyranitar, because Tyranitar is not going to want to switching down to 2 Surfs after the hazard damage. So it could kind of give me an early lead, essentially. He's going to indeed go for the Superpower, not up and go for the U-turn Hidden Power Ice. Hidden Power Ice would have only done like 7 to 10 more percent. I go for the Draco there, and he actually stays in, which is actually not a bad play by him. Now that I know the set, I'm able to outrun it and kill it with both Keldeo and Alakazam, as well as kind of shrug off HP-based damage once I get the Poison Heal from Gliscor. So that was smart by him, especially as he had U-turn. So like if I tried to pansy around and like double switch out predicting Tyranitar or Ferrothorn, then he would have caught something with U-turn and gotten spikes damage and gotten a momentum advantage. So yeah, considering that sequence basically led to, at worst, just trading the Latios for the Landorus deck, because he has a Tyranitar, that was actually good for him. However, he does go to the Tyranitar here, and now I try to get a little cute. See, I'm just gonna let the sand animation get up. Yeah, so he obviously has Tyranitar in here, knowing that he could pursuit me. You see, I'm at 67%, so I actually could live in uninvested pursuit plus sand damage in theory. But I figured, okay, first off, one thing I noticed about Raiza in replays is that while he has a lot of black and white fundamentals now, I noticed that he's getting rocks up earlier on in the game than most. And it's not like a huge blatant thing, like it's nowhere near as like noteworthy as a trend as someone like ABR, who breed up against Soulwind in like some outdoor playoffs, for example. And like that's like his historic thing, like getting Stealth Rock up and winning Hazard War. Rise is not someone that like solely focuses or even tunnel visions upon that. But I think that given that A, it's his first SPL game, B, he has a tendency to get rocks up early. You've seen it. I've seen a pattern in his kind of leads or early game positioning plays to do that. And C, I feel as if getting up rocks would be big for him, because it would not only further the chip my Keldeo and my Tyranitar, but also since he didn't knock my Ferrothorn, that kind of is a pseudo knock because it gets leftovers. And also, Gliscor can't switch in as much, so that makes the Hidden Power Ice from Alakazam put me in range. Although he didn't know that spread, so that might have been less of an issue. But anyway, so I could have Draco'd here, and Draco would have meant that he would have been at around 50%, probably about 46 to 48% if I got a mid roll. Assuming he's the standard special defense Choppal Tyranitar spread. And then he could have just pursued me, and maybe I die if he's got attack investment after sand, or maybe I just don't and I get another off, or I try to switch out then. But alternatively speaking, if I get the switch out and he doesn't pursue, so he rocks or he crunches, and I get Gliscor for free, then all of a sudden I have that Latios to try and pick apart his team further than it already has. Sorry, I don't know why I said furthermore. Whenever Rotom or Ferrothorn comes in, and he later revealed that he wasn't Gyro Ball Ferrothorn, so that would have been even more beneficial for me. So I actually elect to switch here, and he's going to call me on a pursuit. Now, as you see here, at the time, it's not a big deal because it's just like, oh, you're missing 25, 30% damage on Tyranitar. But in all seriousness, that actually turned out to cost me because now, despite taking 25% upon switching, this Tyranitar is able to live a focus blast on Alakazam later in the game with Chapel Berry attack, assuming it's Chapel Berry, which I had no confirmation of. Because seeing as he didn't reveal Scarf Landorus at that point in time because he was knocked to Fighting Gem, I actually thought it might be Scarf Tyranitar and like some weird Stealth Rock on the Landorus set because I just wasn't sure. But he probably would have used Stealth Rock against the Ferrothorns. Like that was kind of like dismissed. I just wasn't really sure what the Tyranitar or his sets were. And I figured maybe it's a Scarf Latios or a Scarf Rotom as well because he did use Scarf Rotom against me in another tournament very recently. So yeah, it was worth noting. But he got the pursuit turn right. So, but at least I made sure that he didn't have rocks up. Now I knew right here that he wasn't going to let Tyranitar go with my Psychic type Alakazam still alive. So I went for the Swords Dance Dunkfall while he was probably going to go to the Rotom or the Latios. And I live any hit from SPLXI Latios, and I thought it would be Scarf at the time. And also, since I'm still such defensive, I also live Hydro Pump with ease. Now I'm able to do a nice 65% with Facade Divinity Standard, especially defensive Rotom indeed. And he does only 68% with Hydro Pump, and that's worth noting because as you see my health, I'm at 45% after Poison Heal. So if I roost up to 95, then I could easily live another Hydro Pump. And I could do that again for at least 2 more turns, if not 3 more turns to get similar rolls. But that was actually close to min damage at the time when I found out. So therefore, probably only 2 more times before I'd have to kill it or risk, if I roost again, dying to the follow-up Hydro Pump. So therefore, seeing as outfitting 3 Hydro Pumps is actually about a 50-50, just slightly in his favor. And I don't really need this healthy for anything else because I could come in on Tyranitar, I have to double down whatever and then roost up. Alakazam's almost definitely going to be Hidden Power Ice in this team, seeing as especially he doesn't have any other Scarf Landorus, so he's going to want HP Ice. And I'm going to die to Latios unless I'm near fall, especially if it's Specs, but also like if it's Scarf, Surf is still doing over 60. So yeah, I mean, seeing as I'm not going to be over 60 if I get that other Poison Heal turn, just roosting up a couple times would give me the chance of really getting a huge lead. Because if I'm able to take this Rotom out when I'm near full health, then I could potentially live a hit from Alakazam or live a hit from the Latios, and then I'd be pretty much able to take another kill out or the Sash out and be in a very advantageous position at that point in the game. So basically, giving myself the chance to dodge those 2 Hydro Pumps, as you'll see here, was huge. Sorry again for taking so much time, but I really want to explain the thought process. I want to let people know what I'm thinking because I know a lot of newer players watch this channel, and I find it really cool that I could maybe help inform them. Unfortunately for me, unfortunately for him, he's going to hit those 2 Hydro Pumps. That one doing 75, the one prior doing 77. So I'm like, okay, seeing as I'm at 18 here, I can't roost up and live unless he misses or he gets like near min damage. So I'm just going to go for the kill there, cut my losses. That's fine. I can still come in on Latios or Alexander's fodder or anything else after double down. Now I'm going to go right to my Ferrothorn, and seeing as he didn't get knocked or rocks up, it comes in clutch here because I'm able to. He's actually rolled max on this, but he still needs max on the Focus Blast to get kill. Here, I think it's like 64 max, and he's only going to do 58, so that's really huge for me because I'm able to break the Sash with the Gyro Ball and essentially make this a trade. However, looking at the rest of my team, you'll notice that the aforementioned Alakazam issue is still very much that, an issue. So he has his Sash broken, which is great for me. However, seeing as the Gliscor is weakened, it dies to not only Psychic, but also that Hidden Power Ice. Keldeo, it's not Scarf, so can't really go to that. It's just going to die. Tyranitar, well, it's not Choppleberry, so I can't really go to that unless I just want to risk missing. So all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I have to go to my own Alakazam here. Why would I do that? Well, let's think. Because A, no matter what happens, I win the 1v1, barring him winning the speed tie, having Thunder Wave, and getting full power times like 3. 2, if I win the speed tie, it just dies. But also, he's more likely not going to switch out and try and clean me later on once he breaks my Sash. And that could be possible if he's Chopple Tyranitar again. But I at least get another kill. And then the worst case scenario for me is the game would still be in my favor, as he would have to win the speed tie once he breaks my Sash with the potentially Chopple Tyranitar, and then hit a Focus Blast against Tyranitar. And that's assuming I don't find a way to get Gliscor in, get a Roost off, etc. So I go to my Alakazam here, and I go for Hidden Power, knowing that's just the safest move. And I actually land a crit on his Ferrothorn. And that helps me quite a bit because it makes him the following turn go from like maybe being able to net a kill here if I get a max damage with my Focus Blast. Assuming it's the same roll as it was on mine, and it looks like he has some physical defense on his Ferrothorn. if I do 18 or 9, if I do like 19.5% instead of 39%, then he's going to be at 59% or 60%. And the average roll on a mixed fence Ferrothorn is about 58 or 59 ish. So therefore, I would have needed to hit and get a high roll, a moderately high roll. So odds are that that wouldn't happen. So that crit was huge for me because I would have had to probably fodder off the Keldeo there and then go Tyranitar, and it would have ultimately probably just come down to instead of just Alakazam tie. Also, he would have killed my. I would have had to Focus Blast plus win the tie on his Tyranitar. So yeah, puts the game a bit more of a reachable position because there's less odds involved. Again, this matchup is so close that any little benefit is going to go a long way. So, for example, him hitting the Hydro Pumps against my Gliscor made it so that I didn't get a big advantage. So he kept himself in the game. Now me getting this crit brings it from more of a neutral position to me being in the front seat again, assuming I hit this Focus Blast, which I very much need to hit. He reveals Protect here, which actually I think was a misplay by him, because if I had Encore, then I could have just Encored into Protect and then switched out or forced Mind Games, but nevertheless, I go for the Focus Blast and I connect in the Ferrothorn. Now he goes Tyranitar, and I'm like, okay, that is fine, because, excuse me, as long as I am able to connect with the Focus Blast, then, excuse me, sorry, I can't talk. As long as I'm able to connect with the Focus Blast, then I'm able to just kill it with HP Ice afterwards. Sorry, I was forgetting what my coverage move was. I just used it a couple turns before. For some reason I blanked. So yeah, Focus plus Ice kills, assuming it's Chopple. Or Focus just kills outright, but he wouldn't want this otherwise, probably. He would have went Latios. So thinking this through more, I could have potentially went to Gliscor, predicting him to click Pursuit. But the issue is if he clicks Crunch, or another move to break the sash, such as Ice Beam, that would have been bad. And in addition to that, I could go Keldeo. But if I go Keldeo, then that just it still means I have to hit the Focus Blast eventually. And he just goes Latios and claims a kill of his own. And then he just can win with Alakazam similarly because the sash is broken. And Gliscor's not healed up like it could be a Tyranitar. Unless I just like went Keldeo and then I like spam Protect until I died. But he could go Latios. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So basically, I have to stay in. Otherwise, I'm going to lose the sash to Pursuit. And on top of that, then I won't be able to kill Tyranitar in the process. So he'll be in a favorable position, and my best case would be winning a speed tie because I wouldn't have Gliscor healed up. Like if I could, in a way, go to Gliscor and live any hit he would have, then going Gliscor would make sense, even if I pursued the sash down. Because then I'd be able to roost up to near full health, hopefully full health after against Tyranitar, and then live the Alakazam HP Ice, and then win with Alakazam Thunder Waving Latios afterwards once his Alakazam dies. However, that just wasn't the case, unfortunately. So, moreover, I have to go for the Focus Blast, and I land the Focus Blast. Every move sitting in this game. Hydro Pump for him, Focus Blast for me, and soon you'll see that I'm able to just land HP Ice here, yeah, and take it out, as I mentioned. So that's going to put the game in a 4-2 favor for me. However, you'll now notice that we're in the Alakazam War stage of the game, where basically what happens is if I win this speed tie, then I win the game period because I have a Scarf Tyranitar and I have Thunder Wave on this, so he takes this out and then anything takes out the Latios. Whereas alternatively speaking, if he takes this out, then again Gliscor is in Ice range. Keldeo dies to Psychic. So all of a sudden the game comes down to Focus Blast. So in a way the game is favoring me like 60-40-ish at this point because I have to either win the speed tie or dodge Focus Blast. That's two things. So the speed tie is just 50-50, and then there's the 70-30 thing. However, it's really close. It's come down to pretty much the ending sequence, as we expected from the team preview. It's worth noting that, again, I only got to this point because of the crit on the Ferrothorn. However, he only got to this point because of the Hydro Pumps connecting. So, again, yeah, this game was just so close, strategically speaking. We both got our hazards up. We both got the sand up. We both kind of applied pressure consistently, and it came down to the Alakazam, which is some classic black and white. So the winner of the speed tie is pretty much strongly favored to win this game. If I win, I just outright win. If he wins, he's 70-30 chance to win the game. So here goes. I'm going to go for my HP Ice because it does more to Latios, and it's a speed tie. And thankfully, I'm going to be able to connect and win the speed tie. So I'm going to end up winning the game in, 4-0 fashion because I get the full paralysis and then the crit. But like it would have really been 3-0 because he would have just killed this, and then I'd just go Tar and kill it. But yeah, it pretty much came down to speed tie plus focus hitting. And before then, I got a crit. So really, if it not for the crit, it would have been at best for me a 50-50 game. And I might have had to do a focus plus or two in an exchange. So really, it could have just as easily been a game he was favored in. Raiza played a strong game. Besides maybe that Landorus turn, I might have even led with something besides Ferrothorn, like Landorus and Rotom W, but I digress. Leads are hard to pick in Black White, and there's so many pros and cons of each of them that you can't really nitpick that much further. But yeah, this was a really close game despite the 4-0 finish. It came down to the wire. And seeing as so many people were discussing my sets being Scarf Tar and Protect Lefty's Keldeo, I figured I'd bring it to you guys because the team was pretty much public anyway. So I didn't really reveal any new information in this in this upload. So that is fine. I'm probably not going to be bringing every game until the season's over from there out, unless my team's like blatantly obvious, just as I don't want to reveal every last detail of every set. For example, I'm still not telling you guys my EVs in this team. You can count them out if you'd like, but yeah, I don't want to give that information to my further opponents. So yeah, without further ado, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to go as in-depth as possible because when it comes to Black White, you know me, I know my stuff, I'm thorough, and I want to give you guys the information. I want to give you guys the mindset. I want to let everyone know what I was thinking when I was playing and help them really understand the tier and the gist of what went on in the game. So I hope I was able to paint that picture for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed. This is Finch. Have a good day. Bye.